Hi there, I'm Dan Weedin. Welcome to my, I don't know if that live just clicked over, so I'm going to try that again. Hi, I'm Dan Weedin. Welcome to my live on-air Google broadcast coming to you every week from the palatial corporate offices of Toro Consulting, which happens to be the office next to my bedroom in my house. But here I am coming to you every week. Today we've got a great topic that we're going to talk about. It's a beautiful day outside. I've got the window open, and so you might hear some birds chirping and such because we're having a little bit of a heat wave here in the Pacific Northwest. I hope the weather wherever you're watching is also good. So live TV, like I've said before, and again, windows open, so hopefully that won't become a distraction. But I can tell you that it helps in here. So anyway, welcome. As I mentioned, this is a weekly deal. Every Monday at 12 o'clock Pacific time, I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the concepts, best practices, and strategies that have come through on this day's Extra Points. Extra Points is my weekly newsletter. Today's topic is very much centered around one of the, if not the biggest event in the last month on this planet. I'm not sure I can think of another one. The World Cup just ended yesterday with Germany defeating Argentina to take home their first World Cup since, I believe, 1990, so they're all very happy. And we're going to talk a little bit about the impact of the World Cup from a standpoint of staying power and what that means to you in your business. By the way, one of the things I found out from some of the people who are watching is that they may not be necessarily watching from their desktop. Some of them are watching from other places, also listening live, and they don't show up on here. So I'm just going to pretend there's about 1 million people out there listening right now. Maybe there are. So there are many ways to watch this, as well as watching it later on YouTube, which seems to be happening a little bit as well. So thank you. Thank you to all of you who are taking your valuable time and trusting in me that I'll give you at least 1 or 2 good nuggets that you can move on with your day and your week and your month and into your career with. So today we're going to focus a little bit on what I call staying power. Once you kind of hit a certain height in your career and your business, how do you stay there? So let's talk about the World Cup. I am not a soccer fan. When I told my daughters that when I was in high school, soccer wasn't a high school sport. The only people who played it were PE students, or if we were in PE, we might play a little bit of soccer. But I'm not even sure that the PE teachers knew all the rules. There was no little league, so we played little league baseball, little league football, and little league basketball. But there was not even any youth soccer like there is today. It's huge. And so I didn't grow up with it. I grew up with the other sports. And so I never really caught on to soccer. I've watched it every once in a while. My kids played it. But for whatever reason, this World Cup captivated my attention for 2 reasons. Number one is I got some national pride with the United States having a pretty good team and doing well. And also, I'm half Colombian, as many of you know, and the Colombia team, for the first time in many years, had a very strong team and did very well. So I got into it a little bit, and what I recently wrote about was there's 2 main reasons. Number one is national pride, and number 2 is the stakes involved. So I got into watching it. Well, about a week ago, both Colombia and the United States lost in the knockout round and were gone. And I found myself watching yesterday on live TV the Germany-Argentina final. And I kind of sat there as I was watching, I'm thinking, why am I watching this? I've never really, without having a rooting interest, watched a soccer match. Yet here I am spending 2.5 hours on a beautiful Sunday doing just that. And so it dawned on me that there was some staying power on the World Cup. And here was the staying power on me. I'd already given a commitment of my time from before. Somewhere back in the last 30 days, I committed to this whole event, this whole tournament. And just because my teams are now gone, I kind of want to see who won. but there was some electricity around it. There was passion from the Argentinians and from the Germans, and it was just a huge event. And I felt like, since I'm part of this world, I wanted to be part of it. And so there was some, I wanted to finish and see this through. And my guess is, from having seen in this country, which is, soccer falls way behind the other sports, in this country, seeing how many people were out in parks and venues and stadiums and watching this, there's a lot of people who felt the same way. So the World Cup had some staying power. And I believe it revolved around this energy, this passion, this commitment that you had already going in to see something through. So my question to you is, what can you learn from the World Cup in your business? How can you, once you've reached this certain level of credibility, once whatever your business is, whether you're a solo practitioner, consultant, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a retail manufacturer, whatever it is that you do, you've reached some level of success. How do you keep it? Well, I've written some things down because I knew I would never be able to remember all of it, so pardon me for kind of looking at my notes. But I wrote looks like about 7 or 8 things that I believe that if we look back at the World Cup, we can find in them. You know what, and you can use the Olympics as well. The Olympics go 2 weeks, not quite a month. The World Cup is a little bit longer. We can look at the Olympics every 4 years doing the same thing, and then we can transfer them over into your business. So here we go. Number 1, I've mentioned this, is passion. There is great passion, at least in this country, for the United States team. But once they left, what kept the passion? I think it was that we had some passion for our team. Now we want to watch these other passionate Argentinians and Germans and everybody else kind of taking a side and rooting, and we developed this passion. Do people have a passion for what it is that you provide? Whatever your value is. If you're a consultant, you're delivering some value. If you're a speaker up on stage, you're delivering value to your audience. If you manufacture something, there's something of value. Every business has a value proposition. Is it exciting? Is it something that not only are you passionate about, but the people who you most care about having it be passionate to, your buyers in your market, are they passionate about it? Look, as my mentor Alan Weiss always says, logic makes people think, emotions make people act. If somebody is going to purchase your product or service, they've got to have some level of passion in it, or it's just not going to last. They might at the very beginning just be doing it to see what's going, to see what you're all about. But if they don't develop an ongoing passion, I kind of checked into the World Cup just to see what it was all about. The passion came later. That's okay. So what happens is that when somebody tries you out, maybe they're not completely over the moon passionate about it, but they better get there, or else you're not going to have staying power with them. Resources. You need to be able to provide resources. Again, whether that's a product or service, the resources have to have value. It needs to keep people coming back and wanting more. There's several people and businesses that I follow, and I go back to their websites because they bring and provide great resources. In fact, one of them for me is a community I'm in Alan Weiss's community. It's called Alan's Forums. I keep coming back for more because the resources that I get from there are so valuable. You've got to be able to have those same type of resources, whether they're free, almost free, or expensive. It doesn't really matter. Whatever resources that you have to improve somebody, you've got to have those on a consistent basis. That means you need to be creating. You can't make something now and hope it lasts forever. You've got to constantly be changing and creating. Number 3, I guess this is a segue into it, it's nimbleness. You need to be able to be a speedboat rather than an ocean liner. That means as maybe your demographics and your market might change due to technology, due to world events, due to economy, whatever the case is, are you going to be nimble enough to move with them? Are you in a position if somebody says, can you do this, to say, yes, I can? That keeps you sustainable. That gives you staying power. Maybe sustainable is a better word than staying power, but I kind of like staying power. But the ability to be nimble is really important. Large corporations can't be that nimble. They're just too large. They're the ocean liner. But a lot of times small businesses and small companies and individuals, they can be very nimble because they're the ones making a decision. You can be able to do the same thing. Cleverness. I think creativity and being clever wins the day in so many cases. Think about this. If you are doing any type of writing, whether you're writing a book or whether you're writing articles, or even if you're giving a speech, the title of those books or speeches are critical to whether somebody even comes in and reads whatever it is or wants to hear what you have to say. It leads into what your value is, but sometimes you need that level of cleverness to be able to get people on board. You have to be an object of interest. You have to be somebody that people seek out. They see you as an expert. They see you as a trusted person in whatever field you're in. So if you are in the field of organizational development, somebody who is a CEO or a chief operating officer needs to be able to see you as somebody who's an expert who can help them come in and organize. And they see it because you've written, you've spoken, you've done things that has created this aura of, wow, this person's interesting and they're saying things. Many times that means you have to be contrarian because if you're saying the same thing as everybody else, it can turn into white noise. So become an object of interest for long-term sustainability. Create new things. We talked about this a little bit with nimbleness. Create new things. Create and come up with new ideas. Staleness, I think, is the enemy of any type of business. Patricia Fripp, I heard her say sameness is the enemy of the speaker. I would say staleness and maybe sameness is the same thing. Any type of business is the same thing. Create new things. Come up with new ideas. Test something. Try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. This little thing I'm doing here is a pretty good example of that. I saw one of my colleagues putting on this Google broadcast, and I thought, you know what, I think I can do the same thing. So I've tried it, and I don't know what number I'm on. Maybe I should start counting, but I've been doing this now for several months. People have been watching either live or later. It seems to be working. I'm going to keep doing it. If it hadn't, well, maybe I wouldn't. I'd stop and I'd try something else. But constantly look to try new things. You have to be likable. And that doesn't mean that you have to be gregarious or loquacious or anything like that, but you have to be likable. People have to like you. You know, I could tell you I wasn't a soccer fan, and maybe even before I'd say I don't even like soccer, but something about it became likable, whether it was the characters involved or the enormity of the nationalism, something about it got me to like it. And I might actually even watch a little bit more of it. Who knows? We have a good team, good Major League Soccer team here in Seattle. Maybe I'll watch a little bit more. But all of a sudden, I found that I liked it. You have to be likable too. And again, that doesn't mean you have to be everybody's friend or say everything that people want to hear. But you have to. There has to be a real trust that you're genuine about helping people, that you're genuine in wanting to make them better, to give great value, and that's a likable quality. So those are some of the things I put out. I'll throw this back to you. I know it looks like I have a few people out there. By the way, David said, I agree. I'd never been attracted to soccer until this World Cup. Dave and I are in the same boat. We're rowing down the same lines. In fact, it's funny. Dave is in the Bay Area, and we're great friends, except when the Seahawks and 49ers play each other. Now I guess we could probably be on the same team in soccer, I think. But yeah, you know, I think the World Cup captivated and captured the attention of this country more than ever before. At least it did for me, and I think it did for others. And I hope some of the lessons will help us. So my question for you to go ahead and put out here, if you'd like, is, you know, I mentioned passion, resources, nimbleness, cleverness, becoming an object of interest, trying new things, and being likable and having that genuineness about you. What comments do you have on any of those, or do you have any others that you'd like to throw in and share? Again, I'm trying to link the World Cup up with that experience and how we can create some sustainability in our own businesses. So feel free, if you're at a place, if you're driving and listening to me, don't do it. Don't worry about it. But if you're at your desktop or notebook, Dave just put go 49ers. Thanks a lot, Dave. We go ahead and put something in. That's not going to count. We'll have to pick something else. But go ahead and share right now. I'll make a few other comments and see if anybody has any other thoughts on that. But in reality, our world is changing drastically, and I'm going to give you two industries that I'm going to say 40 years ago you would have never guessed would be in the dire straits that they kind of are. Number one is newspapers. Who would have thought back in the 70s, I remember even the early 80s, who would have thought at that time that newspapers would, some of them, be going the way of the dodo bird because they just couldn't survive. In fact, I grew up reading the sports page and eating breakfast. I did that. I can't tell you how many times I had done that. Now I still eat breakfast, but I'm watching usually a sports channel on TV instead of reading, or I'm going online at the same time and reading something off of Yahoo Sports or even off of my Twitter. So I'm still getting the information. I'm just getting it differently. Who would have thought that newspapers would go this way? Well, they're one of those ocean liners, and they weren't able to be nimble enough and keep sustainability. The other one is office products, and it's funny that The Office kind of satirized that. The show The Office satirized that, but who would have thought that staplers and typewriters and office supplies like paper would have problems? Well, as technology has made us much more paperless, that's happened. We don't want that to happen to you. How do you continue to stay relevant and sustainable? I've got a couple here coming up. It was impressive to see the camaraderie between teams and officials on the field. I agree. That was pretty cool. Everything from the time that the teams went out together and they had the children with them and they displayed the flags, and I don't remember, I think it was afterwards, they exchanged jerseys, things like that. I thought that was really great. Actually, probably something we could learn in our business world as well as camaraderie. In fact, this is just happened. Excuse me. I received an email and a phone call just 15 minutes before this call from a colleague of mine who has an idea on some work that I've done that might be able to help her, and who knows, maybe out of it some sort of collaboration. She wants to pick my brain a little bit, but she said some sort of collaboration could come out of this. You never know. You never know what new thing is coming around the corner. So whether you're collaborating with some colleagues to develop something new, and I've done that many times over the years, keeping an open mind, being in the moment, and thinking about what best value you can give and to try something new, those all help in being sustainable. So we're about just a little bit over 15 minutes into this. Any other comments? Dave's given me some great comments other than the Go 49ers, Go Hawks. Other than that, he's given me some great things. Anybody else have? Oh, here's one come in. Kelly says, seeing new players and teams. I actually have a couple here. I guess it's moving up instead of down. My apologies. Dave said World Cup is like the Olympics. It's a worldwide event on a worldwide stage. Before I get to Kelly's, let me mention that Twitter just kind of went off the hook on things like the Super Bowl and the World Cup. The reason is it's live and in real time. With our technology, that's happening more often. Hey, I'm live and in real time right now, and my hope is that more and more people will tune in because it is live. That's going to become much more important in business and maybe in your business, whatever that is. Think about how you can become much more virtual and real and in real time for your clients and for the people who you'd like to have clients. Kelly said, seeing new players and teams in the World Cup increase the excitement, prevents staleness. She obviously heard me talk a little bit about going stale or having a sameness. Well, when you have new people who are coming into the World Cup and seeing names like Messi and James Rodriguez and some of those names that at least for me weren't names that I knew, and that's really important. I was trying to think. I knew Clint Dempsey already because he's a Seattle guy, but knowing that there's new blood involved is important. What does that mean for you? Well, you might not have employees. When you do, you should let people know who they are. But you can always create new intellectual property. So the newness creates some staleness prevention. Kelly, thanks for sharing that. Again, anybody else want to tune in and watch? That's great. Some of you may be watching on YouTube, and if you want to interact with me, even though I'm going to be a talking head to you because you're watching on YouTube, feel free to email me, dan@danweedin.com. It's DANWEEDIN.com. Tell me what you think about this commentary, some of the thoughts you have. I'd be happy to have a brief talk with you and chat regarding that if you'd like. So before I move on to my final thoughts, just again a recap of a couple things. Number one is we can learn something from the World Cup for our business, for our careers, because even if you don't own a business, your career is part of this. So create passion, have resources, be nimble in what you're doing, be willing to change for the betterment of your clients, become an object of interest, be clever, and try things out. I've got one more note here. I thought I saw one pop up. Dave said, for many countries, soccer is the only professional sport with one national team. It's a big deal. You know what? Let's use those words. Excuse me. Big deal. What are you creating that is a big deal? That somebody else is saying, oh, we can't be without that. Because those things still exist. We can't be without that. We cannot be without going and checking this website for new information. We can't be without that new product. This is something exactly what we were looking for. Usually they don't even know it. It's your creativity, your cleverness that brings that out. So as Dave said, it's a big deal to those countries. Be a big deal to somebody else. That'll keep you sustainable. Final thoughts. I'm going to be back next week. I thank those of you who've been watching and viewing this week, and I thank all of you who are watching this at some point down the line. I'll be back next Monday, 12 o'clock Pacific time. I don't know the topic yet. I haven't written it, but I will at some point this week. So I will be back at 12 o'clock Pacific. Please tell your friends, come out and join us. The more interactive, as you can see, the more interactive we can be, the more fun it is. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I don't know, you want to contact me, dan@danweedin.com. You can also go to danweedin.com, and I've got some free resources and some information there. I don't know if I have anything else for the good of the order. Looks like everything went in. I still have a couple of viewers out there. This is your last chance before I hang up and we move on. But I want to thank you for your time. Oh, you know what? Let me do a couple quick promos. Number one is my book Unleashed is out. You can pick it up off of my website at weedin360.com. I also have a book for insurance professionals called Ensuring Success. That can also be purchased from my website. And then finally, I have a live, not Google, but a live Unleashed event, the very first summit that I'm holding on September the 23rd here in the Seattle area at a great resort called the Clearwater Resort near Seattle. It's going to be a half-day deal where I'm going to be waxing poetic about strategies, best practices, concepts, topics that will help you in your business and in your career. So please feel free to come join us. It's not free, but almost. It's $99. That is also on Weedin360.com. So I don't think we got any more here that came in, but I want to thank all of you who watched today, who contributed. This was a lot of fun. I will look forward to seeing each and every one of you, and hopefully maybe even more. Next week we'll see if the Weedin Unleashed has, what kind of staying power it has, if I can be World Cup in nature. But anyway, thank you for today. Have a great week, and we'll see you on Weedin Unleashed next Monday. Ciao.